This is the bottom half, the base, of a Neriagi moon vase. Neriagi means, it's a Japanese word that's actually translates into two words. Neri means marbled and agi means on the wheel, so it's two different colours of clay that are mixed together and then thrown on the wheel. So the first thing that I'm doing with this is I'm just taking a little bit of weight out of the clay, and I'm going to shape a nice foot onto the bottom of the piece. But what you'll see is when I'm throwing the two different colours of clay on the wheel, the two different colours all mix together and it all goes kind of brown and muddy. And I'm using two different clays here that when fired, one of them will be brilliant white and the other one will be almost black. And for me, the whole magical thing about Neriagi is because it's formed on the wheel, the two different colours of clay form beautiful spiral patterns coming up the outside of the piece. So if I just go for a first pass, just clearing away some of that muddy surface, you'll start to get an idea of a pattern on the outside of the pot. I did a whole series of Neriagi pieces for Confluences at Farfield Mill, and what I was trying to achieve with those pieces was, because I'm not a natural decorator, I'm not painterly, I don't put painterly finishes on the outside of my pots. I like the process of actually making to be the main part of the decoration of the pot, keeping it as simple as I can do. But I thought by using small amounts of black clay in amongst white clay, I could create a sense of gentle movement that might, if you look at it in the right way and in the right environment, be evocative of the gentle, soft, kind of flowing profiles you see in the Haugills. So you can see here we're starting to get nice spiral movements being revealed in the clay. When it's displayed alongside Siobhan's work, one of the reasons why I decided to do moon vase, the Korean moon vase shape for Confluences, was because Siobhan and I actually working together on the same pieces and kind of crossing over and inspiring each other. Such a lot of Siobhan's work is spherical or semi-spherical that I thought it would be really nice to do some functional but also kind of classical vase shapes that would sit nicely alongside it. So trying to achieve the gentle sense of movement in the piece. And in this one it's actually quite strong. This isn't the same proportions as I used for Confluences. This is about 20 parts black to 80 parts white. So the decoration on these pieces will be slightly bolder, and I think that I've been inspired to do that by working with Siobhan, because some of the more bold pieces in the exhibition have actually, unusually for me, sat very well with me. You can see when I slow that right down, that's just I don't know whether it's like cloudscape or a landscape. I just like the sense of movement. There's a hope and a desire when I'm making these things that they'll look like they're just floating, and getting the foot right is a really important part of that. The width of the foot in relation to the height of the piece, in relation to the diameter of the piece. It's got to look and feel right. And at the moment I'm trying to work with my brain upside down, because I know that this is the bottom of a two-part piece, and trying to imagine what it's going to look like when it's the other way up. So at the moment all I want to do is to see the pattern. In a few minutes when the top comes on, we'll start looking at how to use the pattern. Just put my stamp in the bottom. So I'm just applying a little bit of heat to the side of the piece, because this clay is still just a tiny weeny little bit soft, and it'll just help it to keep its shape as I turn it over. The heat just quickly dries out some of the moisture. Also, as it's doing that, because it's drying out the clay slightly, it means that you can see a bit more of the contrast between the black clay and the white clay, because it makes the black blacker and the white lighter. One of the challenges when you're making a Neriagi piece in two parts is that it's the direction of the spirals. So this is thrown the other way up. At the moment it's upside down. So you'll see once I've turned it over. So all the spirals move in one direction. Yeah. So in this case they're all moving clockwise. Don't know if you can see that. You might be able to see it better if I put it on the wheel and then just it's not in the centre of the wheel, so don't worry about the fact it'll look a little bit wobbly, but you can see that they're all moving upwards in that direction. Because moon vases are made in two halves, the second half is made upside down. So this is the part that joins onto the top of that, but this was the top. So here the spiral's going to be moving in that direction, which is the opposite direction when it's turned upside down. So trying to make some sense of the patterns on the piece then becomes beautifully challenging. Sometimes it works and sometimes it just doesn't. So you can see once again, looking at that, that's quite kind of not so much grey and muddy as beige and muddy, but I want to clean it up slightly before I offer it up to the other half. Gosh. Okay, so we've got an area here where there's quite a strong black line disappearing into the top, and then on this one we've got an area here where there's a strong black line coming from the bottom up. So I think what we're going to look at trying to do is to marry that to this. So it's going to sit like that. I think that'll work. I'm just scoring the top because I'm going to put a little bit of water on in a moment or two. And that's going to help the two halves stick together. Where's my line? So just put it on dry and have a look and see how much sense that makes, if at all. Because at this stage, before it's wet, we can move it. I think that's quite nice. I think those two will come together all right, pretty much like that. So back off. There. A lot of potters use slip, which is basically liquid clay for joining two pieces like this. If you do that with a Neriagi piece, you end up with a very, very strong, clean, horizontal line all the way around the middle. And whereas I don't want to hide the fact that there's two pieces of a joined together object here. I don't also want to have a really strong obtrusive line. Oh dear. That's going to be all right in a minute. The bottom's still quite soft, so the first thing that we're going to do is just get inside there and push the bottom out slightly. There. This is my favourite tool in the workshop. It's an adapted wooden spoon. It means I can get inside some of the more complex shapes to join them from the inside without too much difficulty. That's it. That's a nice strong join in there now. And what we're hoping for is just some sense of continuity. So you can see that line now that we were looking at. Oh, that's not too bad. What I'm looking at now is the proportion of the neck in relation to the proportion of the base and trying to get that balance right. Just take a tiny wee and a little bit of weight out of it, and then I'm going to put some water on and throw it. I'll have to do that very gently because the bottom's still quite soft. We're going to have to partially repeat this turning process. As we just make this neck a little bit stronger. When you're working with a process like this, that the spirals and the patterns happen naturally as part of the making process, for me, not having direct control of that feels really attractive. It's like, I know I can trust the process because I know that you're going to get stripes between black and white and they're going to be vaguely spiraled, and that's generally speaking quite beautiful, but not knowing how it's going to come out means that every time you clean one off and you look at the outside, there's always surprises, there's always little things that draw you in and you can become more kind of involved with or less involved with. It's like unwrapping Christmas presents every day. Yeah, it's just I think control's the right word. It's about not desiring to control, you know, to just kind of go with the flow, literally to go with the flow, and see where that takes you.